Hi, my name's Phil Gardner and welcome to Fun with Boxes. Yet another small box video. I guess you could say hi and welcome to small box videos of fun. Not as catchy. I just prefer Fun with Boxes. Well, today we are taking a look at this rather fierce and friendly card game. And that is Zuuli. And this is from Unfringed.co and is designed by Chris Prescott. Now, Chris has designed a game I've already covered on the channel previously, and that's well worth looking up. Molehill Meadows. Oh, it's a cracker. But we're not here to talk about Molehill Meadows, even if it is a cracking game that's got moles in it. No, we are here to talk about Zuuli. Oh, this is tremendous and has got some absolutely adorable artwork in it. It's a game for 1 to 6 players and will take you around 15 minutes to play. Oh, so what is Zuuli? Well, Zuuli is, well, it's a zoo, I guess, a zoo. You will be collecting enclosures, rescuing animals and installing upgrades over 3 years to build the highest scoring wildlife park you can in this pick and pass card game. Oh, wonderful. And it also has some tableau building as well, as you lay out your enclosures and rescue your animals and make sure you've got the right animals in the right enclosures, because otherwise things could turn nasty quite quickly. Well, before I get too carried away, let's take a Fun with Boxes look at what you get in a game of Zuuli, and then we'll have a look at how to set up the game and how to play this wonderful little game. Okay, let's take a quick look at the components for the game. Well, you're going to get 6 new plot cards, and they'll be the starting cards. You're going to get a handy little score pad, an example of invalid placement, which will be handy for your first game. 3 cards are provided for you to do your own custom version. And then we have a pile of cards. These are enclosure cards, animal cards, and upgrade cards, and we'll go through what all these cards are as we learn the game. So that's our components. Let's have a look at how to set up the game. So the first thing we need to do is to take all the new plot cards and deal 1 to each player face up. So for example, if I was setting up a 2-player game, I deal 1 to me and 1 to my opponent. Then you will take all the enclosure cards and animal cards and upgrade cards and give these a real good old shuffle. And pop these on the table in a face down deck. And finally, just pop your example invalid placement card out onto the table so that players can take a look at that if they need to. And that's your setup complete. Now the game is played over 3 years, and each year goes through the following 4 phases. The first is deal cards, the second is pick up and pass cards, then you develop park, and then you do the end of year action. So let's take a look at each of these in turn. First we have the deal cards, and like I said, make sure that you did shuffle that deck well before dealing out the cards. And all you would do, you would deal each player a number of cards that will vary year by year. So for example, looking at this table now, for the first year of our game with 2 players, I would deal 10 cards each. For year 2, when we set up year 2, each player would get 9 cards, and for year 3, the final year, each player would get 8 cards. And now we're on to the pick and pass cards part of the game. And during this phase, multiple turns happen all at the same time, with all players picking any one card from their hand that they'd like to keep for their park, and then they place this card face down on the table in front of them, separated from their existing park enclosures and animals. And once every player has done this, all chosen cards are turned face up. But we don't do anything with these cards just yet. This will happen in the develop park phase. So after revealing the cards, the players pass their remaining hand face down to the player on their left, and the players pick up their new hand of cards. And the next turn begins with players having a smaller hand to choose from. And you continue this pick and pass process till all cards have been picked and passed. And now we're on to the develop park part, where each player will use the cards they chose during their pick and pass card phase to build and develop their park. And this involves playing enclosures, moving or placing new animals in enclosures, and installing enclosure upgrades. So let's take a look at each of these cards in turn so that we can understand what they mean and how we're going to use them to play the game. So first thing, let's have a look at the enclosures. Now the number at the top left there, this tells you the space available in an enclosure, which can be increased with an upgrade card. At the bottom are some additional rules, so be mindful to check them out. At the top right hand corner is the satisfaction multiplier, and this is a multiplier to the value of animals that end up in this enclosure, and we'll deal with that at the end of your action. Finally then, you'll get the habitat of the card, and as you can see, these are plains, these are jungle, and these are water. And when playing enclosures, you play them face up in front of you, as with the new plot enclosure that you start with. And enclosures can't be placed on top of each other, and they persist over the years. So for example, if I had picked a new standard pen enclosure, I would place it next to my existing new plot enclosure. And this one is a plains and a jungle enclosure. Okay, let's take a look at the animals, shall we? Let's take a look at the lion as an example. So in the top left hand corner we have the animal's trait, and that could be either fierce, as we see here with the lion there, or it would be friendly, and it would have a heart icon there, like this tree frog for example. As you can tell there by the expression on their faces, friendly. Oh, this lion seems to be quite friendly as well, but no, don't be put off by its happy smiley face. Always check the icon in the top left hand corner. So fierce and friendly. And the icon directly underneath then is the amount of space that animal requires and takes up in an enclosure. Top right there we have the value of the animal, and then here we can see that this animal likes to go in the plains. Additionally, there could be some extra rules, so don't forget to check out the bottom of the cards as we do when we play enclosures. And you play an animal by placing that animal on top of the enclosure or on top of an animal or upgrade already in an enclosure, and offset the cards so that all the cards in an enclosure can be seen. Animals need to be placed in enclosures while satisfying all of the following requirements. So for example here, I could pop this lion into my new plot card because it has the plains habitat which the lion needs, and it can fit in there because it's taken up 3 of the 6 spaces. Now the placement rules are at least one of the animal's habitat requirements is installed in the enclosure. And as we see with our lion, yes, we find there it has the plains habitat. There must be enough available space in the enclosure, and as we saw there, this is taking up 3 of the 6 points, so there's 3 points remaining. And finally, as we no doubt know, do not put the friendly animals in with the fierce animals, because the friendly animals will end up hugging the fierce animals and smothering them with their love, and the fierce animals don't like that, so obviously the fierce animals would run away. It's not as if anything terrible would happen to this tree frog, for example. So fierce animals cannot live in an enclosure with animals of a different name. Friendly animals can live in an enclosure with any other friendly animals. So lions could stay in the same enclosure together because they share the same name. But obviously don't put a grizzly bear in with a lion, because their fierce natures tend to end up with some slight problems where one or the other would be the only one left remaining if you turned your back on them. So cannot put fierce animals in the same enclosure together unless they share the same name. During this develop park phase, one thing to be aware of is that animals that are already living in enclosures placed in previous years, they can be moved to another enclosure so long as they meet the requirements. So for example, if I wanted to, I could move this lion from the standard pen and pop them into the new plot there, because they have enough room. The lions are fierce, but they have the same name, so we're fine to put those together. But you can only move animals that you placed on a previous year, and any animals you do not place in an enclosure by the end of the year will be scored negatively, and you would place these in a discard pile and not shuffle them back into the deck for the next year. Now there are upgrade cards that can be installed in any existing enclosures or any enclosures played on the current year, but once installed they cannot be moved to a different enclosure in subsequent years. And you do not have to play an upgrade card if you do not want to, but if they're not installed in an enclosure this phase, then they'll be discarded, and there's no penalty for discarding one. And the upgrade cards there, they will give you a benefit. This card here, well fed, traits can be ignored when placing animals in the attached enclosure. And then we get to the end of year. So once everyone has finished developing their park, the end of year phase starts and cards can no longer be played or moved. And for each enclosure in your park, add up the value of each animal placed in the enclosure, and you will multiply this by the satisfaction multiplier of the enclosure. And don't forget to pay attention to anything listed on the bottom of the cards. Now this is very important, because in the example I have here on the table in front of me, the new plot card, the one that you start with, this does not score unless it's full. So it needs to have 6 points worth of animals in it. Now if you look at the 2 lions, you may well think that as they cost 3 for their space requirements, you would think that you have 6 points worth and the new plot is full. However, if you look at the bottom of the lion card, it says the space required is -1 if kept with at least one other lion. So in actual fact, the new plot is not full, because these 2 lions were 2 points each, so they're only taking up 4 spaces out of 6 available. Now what I should have done, obviously, is play them onto the standard pen, because the standard pen does not have any limitations at the bottom of the card. So my 2 lions can happily roam around the standard pen, and they would score me 3 + 3 × 1, 6 points at the end of the game. But do not forget, if you had any animals left over that weren't in an enclosure, then they would score negative points instead. And once all players have scored their park for the year, note down each player's score on the handy scoring pad, and then you will set up year 2 and finally year 3. And now the end of the game and final scoring. The game ends once the end of year phase has been completed in year 3, and then simply the winner is the person with the highest score. That's the total from the 3 years. And in the case of a draw, out of the players with the highest score, the player with the most unique animals in their park will win. So there you have it. That's how you play Zuuli. Well, there you go, Zuuli. Oh, I love it. The fierce and friendly card game. Or it is a delight to play, an absolute delight to play. Oh, and not only that, but I'm hoping that we are going to meet Chris Prescott, the game's designer, at Aircon in Harrogate in a few days' time, which may well be already have happened perhaps by the time I get the video up. I'm not sure. Hopefully I can get this video up before then. So we are super excited to see Chris there because he has a new board game that he's going to show everybody at Aircon. So that's super exciting. I haven't looked into much detail about what the game is because I just want to experience it there and then. Oh, but if it's anything like Molehill Meadows or indeed Zuuli, I think we're going to be in for a treat. Zuuli is such a clever little game. I do love these tableau building games, especially these ones where you're drafting the cards and you're setting up the best possible use for them and making sure you've got the right animals in the right habitats, and it's just such a clean, fun, clever little game. Zuuli, a big fun with boxes, thumbs up from me. Well, I do hope you enjoyed taking a look at this with me. If you did, please hit the old like button and also hit that subscribe button if you would not mind, because it would make you feel quite happy and warm and tingly inside. Well, it certainly would make me feel happy and warm and tingly inside indeed. Yes, so please do click that old subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And in the meantime, as always, thanks so much for watching. Please do take care and bye for now.